What a treat I have for you this time around on Author's Corner. R.I. Johnston joins us, and he is in England, so we go across the pond for some of you because we have plenty of people that listen to us in the UK. And he's written a fascinating book. It's called The Triad of Solomon. Think of the 3 stages of life meets the Bible. And this book goes deep. There's a chapter on philosophy. There's a chapter on intransitivity. There's a chapter in the book on logic. And I really enjoyed the way he pulled it together. I'll tell you what, it really makes you think. Robert, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So why did you write the book? I mean, you're a former language teacher. You've delved into philosophy and biblical studies and that kind of thing. But what made you decide to tackle a project this big?
Well, I started writing and it just carried on, I didn't think in big terms to start with, actually, but it sort of grew. I think another philosopher who was born not far away from me, actually. He was John Locke. He said he just started writing an essay on human understanding, and it just grew. Anyway, I've been interested in Kierkegaard for quite a while, and I've always had an interest in philosophy. And it occurred to me, as a Christian as well, that the wisdom literature of the Bible needs to be reconciled with what Kierkegaard was saying, because there are quite a few people who aren't quite sure of his Christianity, and indeed because existentialism has become synonymous with people like John Paul Sartre, that need to show that there is such a thing as Christian existentialism, and indeed it lines up with what the Bible's got to say.
Yeah. What do you think?
Sorry.
What do you think is the most difficult thing for people to understand? Because especially you talk about, like I said, the 3 stages of life, the Triad of Solomon, and we're talking about wisdom literature. What's the toughest thing for people to wrap their mind around?
Well, I think they've got to be aware of Kierkegaard. What Kierkegaard said was, or what he wrote about was, particularly in a book called Stages Along Life's Way, that people go through 3 stages in their lives. In their youth, they tend to go through an aesthetic stage when what matters is what feels good, and morality takes little place in their lives. Then they go through an ethical stage, which they become committed to an outlook on life that involves morality. Usually it means that people settle down and they get married, and they have concerns for their families. So they have a more ethical outlook on life. But in the end, they develop the feeling that the idea that what life's all about leads to a religious stage. And ideally, this is a Christian commitment. Although these stages aren't sort of necessarily in chronological order, but they do reflect on 3 views on life. And I try to show that the books in the Bible attributed to Solomon, Song of Songs, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes, correspond to these 3 stages of life, more or less. So what Kierkegaard was saying does correspond with that, although he himself didn't say it. I was the one who found out, I think.
And in talking about this and talking about the 3 books and wisdom literature, and again, the book is R.I. Johnston. We're speaking with him, and the book is called The Triad of Solomon, that people struggle with logic and philosophy and intransitivity, the things that I talked about. In
Yeah.
writing this and tackling it, what do you think was the most unique thing that you uncovered?
Well, the most unique thing I've uncovered is that not all statements we make are objective. You know, a lot of them are subjective and can only mean something to us personally. There's another, if I can chuck in another philosophical word, is qualia, is something that only means something to the subject. So, for example, if I say my dog smells a bone, that's an objective statement where the smell is a transitive verb and the object is the bone. But if I say my dog smells awful, that's an intransitive statement that can only mean something to me, or other dogs, you know, might think it's rather nice.
Right.
So I start that chapter with the joke. My dog has no nose. How does he smell? Awful.
That's very clever. I might have to steal that from you as I talk about your book.
Yeah.
And it makes sense the way you explained it. So in pulling the book together and tackling, like we said, something that is broad and something that is of interest, I think, to every single human being, as
Yeah.
it's really the question of why, the why question everybody wants to know. And
Yeah.
certainly that delves in philosophically. What is it that you'd like for people to take away from reading your book?
Well, the main thing is, as Kierkegaard would have wished, that a personal faith, specifically personal Christian faith, is more important than what church you belong to, or thinking that you belong in a Christian country or something like that, because technically there's no such thing as a Christian country. Although there are countries that got state churches, like Sweden and Denmark. If you go to Sweden, I mean, it's virtually a spiritual desert, you know. Although you've got a state church, there's very little religiosity there, and not much personal faith, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But people all say, "Oh, we belong to the state church," you know. We go to the Christmas service and everybody gets baptized, this sort of thing. You know, it's not the case at all. Personal faith is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. Like Kierkegaard said, I mean, in reference to European Christianity, he said Christianity has been abolished by expansion. That's one of his sayings.
Wow, and you certainly have proven that out in some of what we've talked about here, that it is personal, and there is that battle of people belonging, and then belonging has that group think, which is what, to your point of what you see certainly in some of these areas, and you know, because you traveled and as you were
that's right,
somebody that was a teacher of language, you traveled to many places and you saw firsthand.
Yeah, I taught in Sweden and in the Middle East. English as a foreign language. I didn't teach any other languages. I think we're very lucky in the English-speaking world, actually. You know, we don't have to learn any other languages, more or less.
Yeah, I agree. We're speaking with R.I. Johnston, and again, his book is called The Triad of Solomon. And again, R.I. Johnston. So when you look it up on Amazon, you can get the book there. Very easy to find. You know, ultimately for you, I mean, this is like a culmination of things that have happened in your life or you've seen and research. What was it like writing the book?
Well, I started off thinking, oh, right, well, let's start off writing the Bible, about the Bible commentaries on the three main wisdom books and a few other books like Job and some of the apocryphal books, and then unfold that in the way that Kierkegaard was trying to unfold these three stages of life. I mean, I got a chapter on his biography, and also his background as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it led on to other things. Like I said, it led on to explorations in philosophy and language. And as I say, in terms of grammar, I think there's a couple of areas there I don't think any philosophers have touched on yet. So I felt I was breaking new ground. And also, there's other areas like the logotherapy of Viktor Frankl, who was a Jew who was in concentration camps in the Second World War, and also cybernetics and robotics. I just wanted to show that people are not robots, and robots could never be people. So there's no fear of us being taken over by robots or anything like that.
I like that. That's certainly what I like, the angle that your book takes, because you take us in a lot of different directions. Pick up the book.
I do,
yeah. Pick up the book for sure. Thank you so much, R.I. Johnston, for being with us. It's called The Triad of Solomon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.